A lot of the time when we procrastinate is because we are not focused on the prize. We're focusing too much on the price. What's it going to cost me? I don't want to pay that cost. If you want the prize, there has to be a price for it. We're in this society that focuses so much on harvest. They don't focus enough on seed. The secret to reaping big, so big. It's literally a law of the universe. It's literally a law that's biblical. I do sometimes believe that sometimes Christians can use faith as a crutch for laziness. And they do everything by faith, but faith without works is dead. The parable of the talents come and say, you buried your gift, and I'm sure you might have buried your gift spending all that time in church, praying, fasting, but the gift wasn't used. You did not come back to God with something more than what he gave you. Celebrate your network. People want to be around people who celebrate them, not tolerate them. All my mentors that I've had, I've served every single one of them. I've worked for every single one of them, even sometimes for free. Confidence is what changes the world. Confidence is what changes policies. If you want to make change, you have to be confident enough to be like, even if nobody else is going to do it, if not me, then who? And I think with a lot of people, they're looking for the next man to step up. I believe in the power of words. I believe that the truest impartation actually comes through words. From a biblical point of view, the first way that God imparted to us was actually through words, not actually through hand. That just proves how spiritual and how important words are. Be around people who speak into your destiny and not your limitations.
You're not defined by where you come from.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big message that I always want to tell people.
Like you have to be able to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
When you grow up in ends, you don't realise it when you're confident, but you have an audacity to do things that ordinarily most people wouldn't be willing to do.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Atto. We have a special guest in the building, Hayley, who is a multi-award-winning international speaker who has worked with notable organizations such as Google, Microsoft, and Cambridge. Her story has touched the lives of millions of people, where she has shared her journey of turning pain into purpose. She has delivered keynote speeches on some of the world's most prestigious stages, including the Houses of Parliament and Wembley Arena. Her work focuses on well-being, resilience, vulnerability, and personal development. Hayley, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am very good, man. We both stuck in traffic today, right?
Stuck in traffic. The heat. Crazy.
Man. Everything, right? Stuck in traffic, heat. Oh, crazy. I don't know what this country's coming to. So obviously I gave a pretty long intro on yourself, but who would you say Hayley is?
Who would I say Hayley is? Hayley, first of all, is a lover of God, a lover of people, a lover of her husband, a lover of family, very family orientated, and a lover of friends, just my people them. I love, and also I'm a lover of ends. Yeah. I'm big on the community. I'm very big on community work. Yeah.
I like that. And we're gonna definitely delve into all of those areas, right? So obviously you said your love of the community. Whereabouts did you grow up?
Grew up in Newham.
Okay, nice. What was it like?
Yeah. And you know what? I ran for Young Mayor when I was 15.
Really?
Yeah, that's how passionate I am. It's so interesting because I remember literally my husband, we was at my mum's house about a few months ago, and I saw my the campaign I had for my Young Mayor, and everything that I said I was passionate about at the age of 15, I'm still passionate about at the age of 26.
That's crazy.
It's just that now I have enough finance for me to actually do the change that I once said I wanted to do. So about the impact I wanted to do with young people, the opportunities I wanted to do with young people, speaking life into young people, all the changes in terms of schools, youth events is the type of stuff that I'm doing now, which I was once saying that I wanted to do at the age of 15.
Yeah.
I ran for Young Mayor of Newham because I just found that there was not enough opportunities given to young people. When I was doing work experience, my work experience was in Curry's, and it's no disrespect to Curry's.
Okay.
But now where I'm a speaker and now where I have the opportunity to be in rooms that I don't look like a lot of the senior leaders or any of the CVPs, if we're talking about really giving young people opportunities to allow them to break out of a low socioeconomic background, you have to put them in rooms that they don't have access to, basically. And I'm passionate about making sure that I just believe that your level of success is determined by your level of exposure.
Yeah. And
I'm passionate about young people being exposed to the rooms that they're just not necessarily always exposed to, because I think that's where change really happens.
Wow, that's mad. So I guess where did that kind of drive, at such a young age come from? Because that's a big kind of vision to have at
age,
such a-
yeah. It's crazy because I feel like I had a friend in the year before in my year group run for young mayor, and I definitely say environment is everything because I think she planted a seed for me originally in terms of just being able to even be part of her campaign team, seeing the impact of, you know, change and hope, and being able to be part of her campaign team. I read on the other people's campaigns as well, and actually just seeing that, oh my gosh, this is possible for a young person. You can actually make a change. You can use your voice for change. So when the following year came, because I did it in my GCSE year, actually, my mum was not happy about that. I'll never forget telling my mum that I wanted for a young mayor, and she was kind of like, what about your GCSEs? I was just like, I don't know, girl. But I think being even around the different campaigners, and the crazy thing is the person that won young mayor this year, I still talk to her.
Oh wow.
Yeah, when I was
Okay.
yeah, I still talk to her like till this day.
Mad.
And it's kind of crazy because it's like, where did that come from? Honestly, it's environment. You know, surround yourself with driven young people. Yes, I'm not gonna lie and say that I was around everyone was driven, because back in the day I did hang around with people I shouldn't have been speaking to, from the drug dealers to those who were holding knives, those that were in criminal activity. I mean, I grew up in a low station background. You're going to be exposed to all of that.
100%, yeah.
But I made a decision that I was not going to be a product of my environment, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't a product of what was exposed to me, but I would intentionally expose myself to other things that I didn't have I wasn't accessible to. So even on terms of YouTube, like I used to watch a lot of motivational videos. So
Same here.
like Eric Thomas, Inky Johnson, listening to them all the time. I was exposed to just a lot of like I used to watch MTV Cribs a lot as well. Like I used to,
So you think that
I used to think more, and also I think as well around the time I used to watch a lot in terms of Scandal and So Olivia Pope, How to Get Away with Murder, and I was really intrigued with the fact that these were Black women who were using their voices to change people's lives. And I just thought to myself, like, as a Black woman, why can't that be me? And that was actually more or less the narrative that I kind of started to adapt from a very young age.
Wow, that's so incredible, and it just shows you like the power of, you know, hanging around the right people that can make or break you sometimes.
Listen,
right?
I really do believe that whoever has access to your ear has access to your mind.
Yeah.
Whoever has access to your ear has access to your mind. And I grew up just watching a lot of interviews. So from Lauryn Hill, Tupac Shakur, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Miles Monroe. Just as I started to get older, I just wanted to get into a lot of wisdom. And also with me, what would happen is something that happens is normally when I watch like reality TV shows or movies, if I really love the character, I really want to get to know the actor or the actress or the personality. So I start watching all their interviews. So I was always on The Breakfast Club. I was always watching interviews behind the person of the role because I was so intrigued behind that person or that personality. So I was always somebody growing up who always watched interviews because I was so intrigued by people's stories. So that helped me a lot as well.
That's incredible. So your journey to becoming a speaker, how did that come about?
Oh, funny. It's a funny story. I obviously used to be chitty chatty in school, chatterbox in school, and there was a speaker that came into school when I was in year 12. It was like the first week of year 12. He came to obviously motivate the year 12s, take your A-level seriously, blah, 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 red. And what happened is I remember I was doing just, you know, when you're just bantering with your friends, obviously during the session, weren't really paying attention. And what happened is there came a section where he asked different people to come to the front and basically share what they wanted to do when they were growing up. So different people were like, I want to be a midwife, engineer, And I was just cheeky. And he came to me and said, what do you want to do? And I came and said, I want to do what you do, but better.
Oh my God.
And he looked at me and was like, who the hell is this girl coming to chat to me like that? But I feel like he saw something in me. He gave me his book and he basically said, like, I want to mentor you. Like, I think, you know, if you really want to do what I do, I'll take you under my wing. And I think him dropping that seed actually made me want to do what I said that. Like, I feel like I've always wanted to either go into teaching or law. I wanted to use my voice to empower. But when I saw what he was doing, it made me realize I don't have to limit my voice to a classroom. So I always wanted to go into teaching. I always wanted to teach. And then I think him being able to see the work that he does now, knowing that he travelled, it made me have a different perspective. So after that, he started mentoring me, and I'd had the opportunity to shadow him. to different schools and different sessions, and it just opened up my mind, and it made me know, okay, I can actually really do this speaking thing. Then I started doing speaking in my secondary school first. I started in my secondary school when I was 17, uploaded the videos on YouTube. Then there was other schools that saw those videos. They asked me to go in.
Right.
So I used to use my free period in sixth form to go to other schools to empower their students.
Interesting.
Film that content, upload it onto my Instagram. And then I was just doing my school consistently. My school, literally doing sessions with my friends in after school, doing empowerment sessions. And then after that was finished, when I did university, went to university obviously after A-level. And that summer, I remember I worked 2 jobs. I worked at a summer camp for young girls in South London. Then I also worked as a go-kart like receptionist in South London actually. And the work that I used to do at the girl camp, I was doing a lot of sessions, kind of empowering young people in terms of self-love, and doing that. Went to university, then after university, started to run my own sessions, started speaking at a lot of ACSs, and that's basically how my journey for speaking kind of picked up.
Wow. Why did you decide to stick to it? Because that's
Why did I decide to stick to it? Passion.
Okay.
I'm a altruism. Altruism means that you gain happiness from seeing other people happy. I generally love being able to speak life, and I love being able to see people become everything that I believe that God has called them to be. And I love being able to contribute to somebody's pleasure rather than someone's pain. Especially because in my year 8 time, I was severely bullied.
Okay.
And I know how much that impacted my confidence. That made me feel small. It impacted my confidence. And I made a vow to myself. I remember there was one time when I was just crying when I was, my MySpace got hacked. You know, MySpace back in the day. My MySpace got hacked. My Facebook got hacked. I remember they were saying so many crazy things about me. And I made a vow to myself that I would never, ever let anyone around me ever feel like how I felt that day. And I felt so disgusting. I felt so small. And I just felt like in that moment, I was like, God, I never want any of my words to ever make someone feel like they want to end their life. If anything, I want to use my words that somebody feels like there is more to life rather than to end their life.
Yeah.
And then, it was those painful experiences that kind of shaped how I started doing speaking.
Wow. That's incredible. And look where you are now, right?
Yeah.
International speaker. Now that's sick. And I think the fact that you were able to turn, and we've got a question around that you're able to turn like an area that was very tough for you, you know, painful for you, and you were able to turn it into something that was, you know, able to elevate yourself and elevate your career is it's very admirable. It's amazing. It's amazing. So in terms of obviously your journey as a speaker, what are some of like the main obstacles that you've faced that you've had to overcome?
You know what? Being a black girl from ends is always going to be an obstacle. And I'll tell you this. And the reason why is one, it's something that I had to learn very quickly, that just because you speak that way doesn't mean everyone understands the way you speak. So when I started going into schools more up north and I was using certain terms and certain slang terms, they're not understanding that.
Okay.
Because they're up north.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times when you are so used to your environment, you don't see beyond your environment, you believe everybody understands your environment. And I had to learn that very quickly. Just because you're from ends doesn't mean ends is everywhere, you know.
That's true.
And so I had to learn very quickly and adapt very quickly. So learning from other speakers. So I used to study a lot of speakers. So from Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas, Inky Johnson. I used to study, who else did I used to study quite a lot? Obama at the time. Oprah Winfrey. I was studying just a lot of speakers and their vocabulary. So I started just reading words that I wouldn't necessarily use on my day-to-day basis to try and implement that into my vocabulary so that I could be palatable to all different types of audiences and all different demographics. Because if you want to be making real impact and you want to have a greater reach, you have to be somebody that is diverse in how you speak. So that was probably one of the greatest lessons that I've learned, and one of my greatest obstacles as well, because I was too hard-headed. Because for me, I was genuinely so convinced that because I want to make change and because I'm passionate about change, it doesn't matter how I sound, but it does matter. It does matter.
Okay.
So when I
Yeah.
when I let go of myself and start making it about myself and making it more about the impact, so I'll say after that is getting over yourself is always going to be the biggest obstacle as well. Because a lot of time with speaking, you got to check your ego. You got to check your ego. You got to check your motives. Because sometimes I believe in this God complex ideology that humans have. Humans like to be God. Humans like to be God. Humans like to have their ego stroked. You saved me. Oh my gosh, you saved me. You're the person. You're the reason why I'm this. And you have to be making sure every single time that you speak, you're content with the idea that if nobody ever responds back to you and says, you helped me, would you still go out there and do it? And when I first started speaking, I couldn't answer that honestly.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I couldn't answer that honestly. I needed my ego stroked because, as I said, I'd experienced a year of bullying. So my view of myself was so low that I needed other people to affirm me to make me feel good within myself. So getting over myself and getting over my interior motives and addressing that and being honest with myself and dealing with my ego, I would say is a great obstacle I had to overcome. And I'll say the third thing was something that I had to overcome was finding myself and understanding it's being authentic that is going to make you stand out. It's not about being good, it's about being yourself. And being yourself, that's when you can become good. Because being good and you're not yourself, you're never going to be fulfilled. Ever. You'll never be fulfilled if you're not authentic. So I think being able to love myself and being authentic with myself when I show up in these rooms, because there came a time when I went through a bit of an identity crisis. I felt like, okay, so as I said to you, I got over myself. I started now learning proper English, should I say, outside of slang. I started feeling like in order for me to be more palatable, I had to speak, proper English. I had to, implement certain words. And then I thought to myself, okay, in order for me to, now this is when I started doing the shift from universities, ACS, and I have to make this clear, African Caribbean Society universities to now corporate. That's two complete different ball games. So now when I'm going to ACSs, I could wear a hoodie and be like, yo, well gone, fam. And then now when I'm going to corporate, and my first corporate gig was PwC. So I did PwC at the age of 19.
Wow.
Yeah, I did PwC at the age of 19. I did JP Morgan at the age of 20. So I went straight, I didn't go for this. I wasn't with small businesses. I was with the big boys. The big boys. So for me, I didn't have a palette. I didn't have somebody to look up to. And what I mean by that is a black woman who was dominating the speaking space in the UK. At the time, I didn't have anyone that I could really admire or look up to. It was a lot of men, though. It was motivational speaking, public speaking is a male-dominated industry.
Yes,
Now there's a lot more women, which I'm happy about. But at the time when I was speaking, now this is let's say 2017 times, very male-dominated. And so when I'm seeing someone like Tony Robbins wearing a big suit, going to speak with, professionals, I'm here thinking I need to start wearing suits and heels. I hate heels. So there would be times when I'm literally like limping to my speaking engagements because I had an identity crisis because I was like, okay, cool, I can't wear trainers and jeans anymore. If I'm going to JP Morgan, I've got to force myself to wear heels and wear suits. So I was spending a lot of my time in Zara, spending a lot of my time in H&M, New Look, trying to find suits. Even though I hated how I looked, I just thought, oh, maybe this has to be, maybe this is what works. But now, like, it's been a long time. I don't remember I can wear a blazer, but I don't remember the last time I wore a suit. I don't remember the last time I wore a suit and heels to a talk. And that came from me finding myself and finding how I want to show up to the world. And because you can't the best I can say is you can't project a message that you don't feel comfortable in the first place. So I used to share a lot of messages that were hard-hitting, but they weren't landing on people because I wasn't comfortable in my own skin attire. But when I started being comfortable again in terms of finding how I want to dress, how I want to show up, how I want to speak, that's when I feel like I really was able to find my flow as a speaker.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's like that balance because you said authentic and then you said obviously like different voices. I think you're absolutely right. It's like it's like trying to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
but making sure you can get your message across, but not trying to change yourself too much. It's like, I'm sure it must have been a tough, like, balancing act for yourself to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think, something that I had to do a few years ago is I had to forgive my younger self for the mistakes that I made in speaking. I had a lot of resentment towards my younger self because I didn't know what I was doing. As I said, I didn't have a blueprint to what I was doing. I was a blueprint. As a young Black woman from the area that I was navigating public speaking, I was a blueprint. And I think I had to forgive myself for a lot of the mistakes I made. Because, I registered my first company when I was 18 years old and it went to foreclosure, I think exactly a year after, because I didn't know how to handle money. I didn't know how to handle tax. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I never had an accountant. So I'm getting paid from schools, I'm getting paid with companies, I'm charging speaking. I maybe might have ruined some relationships at the beginning when I first started speaking because I was more focused on the money than I was the impact. And this is what I mean in terms of coming from a low socioeconomic background. If you're starting to see money that you have not seen money before, you start seeing money that you have not seen before. Like I was 18 years old and I did 1 day workshop and I got paid 1K for it. And I'm 18.
Yeah, that's mad.
So I'm not gonna lie. Pride did kick in, and I'm quite self-aware, so I can be honest there. Pride did kick in, so there were certain people that would come chat to me. I'm like, you can't come chat to me. I'm making 1K a day.
I hear it.
You can't come chat to me. So some of my friends that were hating when I first started speaking, not friends, but should I say schoolmates. I remember literally in the back of my head, I was thinking, you lot were laughing then. Who's laughing now? Because whilst you lot in Sports Direct, I'm making 1K a day. It's taken you at least 2 months. And that was the energy that I was on. And I got humbled real quick. God had to humble me. So I'm even happy that I went through all of that in terms of like my company getting closed down, me not being able to speak for a while, and me just being able to just be humbled, man. But I always come to say to anybody, like on the way up, like never disrespect anyone on the way up. Because life comes with ups and downs. And if any point that life does take you down, the people will remember how you treated them on the way up. So I'm very much kind of like now, a big thing for me, if I'm being honest, which has actually helped my money, and I'm sure we'll get into that, is maintaining relationships network. Like I'm very big on managing and maintaining a very healthy network because I know in my earlier years, I didn't care about that. And I know how much it did cost me in terms of my business in my earlier years. Now, thank God, obviously I'm a bit older, so it's a different story. Yeah.
You know what? I'm glad that the fact, look, people make mistakes. We're humans, right? We make mistakes. You learn from them.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the most important. Some people don't learn,
Yeah, I hear
Some
it.
people just continue same mistakes for years. They're like, they're so stubborn. Like, I'm not changing. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, right? So, I mean, you learned your mistakes very early on and you rectified it, right? Like, at the end of the day, like you said, right? Like, sometimes God's just going to tell us what it is, right?
Yeah.
He's going to teach us. So, all right. So, you mentioned offline, right? You just mentioned about a network, right? So, you've got a large network. I guess, what actions did you actually take to, grow and manage that network?
One, being bold. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to compliment. I always say you can't expect celebration if you're not even willing to say the word congratulations. Celebrate your network. People want to be around people who like celebrate them, not tolerate them. So I make it very clear that I am for people. I'm very much for people. And I think that's helped me in terms of how I build my network. Yeah. So in any way, especially in terms of proximity. So if you're closest to me in proximity, if I see that you're doing something great, I will try go out of my way to make sure I acknowledge that privately, not just publicly. I'll publicly share you, but I'm going to drop you that message, or I'll send flowers, or I will show up to your event, or I'm I've got one of my mentees right now. She's doing her first ever poetry event at the end of August, and she was like, okay, like I need help with and she was like, I'm looking for a coordinator. I was like, I'll coordinate. And she was kind of like, you, Hayley, like you're so busy, like you're already like so I said, no. I was like, babe, how I model in mentorship is serving. There's no way that I always say to any of my mentees, whenever they're being mentored by me, I come and say, make me one promise. And they were like, yeah. And I said, when you're able to, make sure you do this for somebody else. That's the promise that I make all of them make. When you're capable to, make sure you do it for everyone else. And I've got mentees now who are doing exactly that promise. So with that network, is really making sure that your heart is with serving, congratulating or / celebrating. And I'll say number 3 is finding 5 ways to add value before you ask for a way they can value you. Find that. 5 ways that you can value them. What are 5 things that you need to do? All of my mentors, and this is something that I've done, all my mentors that I've had, I've served every single one of them. I've worked for every single one of them, even sometimes for free.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
Wow.
From when I was, the first ever mentor I had, Jackson. From Jackson, I was his admin. Renee did his social media and his admin. Alfred, his PA. Rev Celia, admin, social media.
Wow.
Yeah, I've literally
helped
found
out a lot,
and it's as recent as last year. Even my pastor built like 4 of his websites. Wow. Filmed for him, did admin.
Wow, you could do a lot, right?
Yeah, I built up a lot of skill stacking. I built up a lot of skills because when I started speaking, I couldn't afford a videographer. So my brother was the first person that ever bought me a camera. Learned in my 6th form suite how to use Premiere Pro. So my friend Darnell, when it's going to film editing, he taught me everything I need to know about Premiere Pro. Wow. So when I was age of 16, I taught myself how to use Premiere Pro. So I'm quite advanced in Premiere Pro because of that. Learn how to film, learn how to edit, learn photography, learn admin, because obviously I was young, I can't afford a PA. So when I was doing invoices, I had to learn it myself. Learn that, send my invoices out when I was 18, do all my admin stuff. So I was skill stacking along the way because I couldn't afford anything. And also in the back of, and also, as I said, because I was watching so many interviews and so many like entrepreneurial podcasts and video casts, should I say, because podcasts weren't really there back in the day, but a lot of YouTube videos, like, or the interviews when they're on the Breakfast Club, what works and stuff like that. I was just kind of like, okay, cool. Let me apply that to my business. So I was like the 18-year-old that was never really outside. I spent a lot of time inside learning. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Look at it serving you well. I do really like what you're saying about helping people before they help you. I think that is very, very, very important.
Yeah,
because,
100%.
right? Like especially if you're reaching out to somebody, right? They probably have loads of people reaching out to them. But how can you also, it's like equal exchange.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you can't just take from somebody, what are you also doing to help them?
And we live in
right?
a heavy entitlement era.
Oh man.
Everyone feels entitled to your time.
Yeah.
Everyone feels entitled to your energy. Everyone feels like, I get people who DM me sometimes and I don't give a heck out. I get people who DM me sometimes and be like, yeah, you need to call me. No, I don't. Who are you? Yeah, people who I'm not following will message me, come and say, yeah, you need to call me. I need to talk to you.
That's so interesting.
I'm telling you, I have some of the most entitled people in my DMs. Sometimes I literally roll my eyes. There's been people I've restricted from DMing me. Yeah, 100%. Some people don't know
so
that they're not allowed to DM me anymore. Because when you come on an attitude and entitlement, I ain't got time for that.
It's a bit strange though to come at it like that, right? Like,
oh yeah, but I've constantly realized as I'm growing older that people are very mad.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people are very mad, and
it can be.
You just gotta love people from a distance sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we live in a very entitlement era, and we don't live in an era that people want to give anymore. And I find that through giving, you literally you reap what you sow, right? And I find that a lot of the time people focus on the harvest and focus enough on the seed.
Yeah.
So kind of what can I get? What can I get? What can I reap? But you have to understand that you reap what you sow. So if the secret to reaping big, so big. It's literally a law of the universe. It's literally a law that's biblical. Reap what you sow. But because people just want to focus on reaping, harvest, what can I get out of it? They're missing the secret to everything, which is to make sure you sow.
Yeah. Very, very, very important. Okay, so let's talk about this. One of the things I really appreciate about you is that you're very bold in your faith.
Thank you.
And I'm sure anybody that's listening and watching this knows that. And as you can see on your page, right? Yeah. So, in your faith as a Christian, and you're very vocal about it, which I definitely love. So talk to me a little bit more about why that is.
Why is that? Because I really believe in evangelism should look like, if you say God is good, your life should look like it.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen some people who evangelized outside. They say God is good, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, Uncle, you sure? Auntie, are you sure God is good? Because you're not looking like God is good. And I want people to look and see that the Lord is good. Where the Bible says, literally, Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, let your light so shine so that people see your light and give glory to your Father in heaven. I really believe that being bold in your faith allows people to know that you're not standing alone, that you have a source, and that source is God. And I was having this conversation with my friend in terms of, you're a fool to believe the light is a source within itself. There's electricity, and electricity is unseen, and that's how I look at it with God. You see my life, but there's electricity and there's a whole source behind me. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Electricity is not seen, but it is there. And in order for you, but then, as I said, light turning on makes you curious about electricity. If the light doesn't turn on, it makes you think there must be issues with electricity.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, cool. Whenever I've seen somebody's light, I'm always curious about the source behind it. So for me, it's like, if you see that I'm operating in light, let me just be open about my source. Let me just be open about the electricity. Let me just be open about the God that empowers me. And I find that with resources always fade, but source does not. Like, energy does not fade out, but resources do. Money comes to go, friends come and go, but just God is everlasting. And another reason why I'm also bold as well is because, and this is, for anyone that doesn't necessarily believe, and this is just on my belief system, I just believe that the enemy is so bold. I believe that there is a devil out there, and I believe there is an agenda out there, and I believe they're getting bolder by the day, I just believe darkness is literally grossing the earth. Like, I was just thinking about Southport, kids are being killed, murdered in broad daylight. Like, there's a darkness that I think you do have to start getting curious about how this world is becoming sick, and how you know that this world is getting darker is mental health issues are skyrocketing up. Mental health risk issues are increasing, but the age is decreasing. There's an issue here. We're seeing the biggest issues that we've had in climate change. We're seeing the biggest issues right now when it comes to poverty. We're seeing the biggest issues when it comes to diabetes, when it comes to obesity. It's like, okay, why is it that our parents are saying that things were easier back in the day? Like, isn't life meant to be easier as you get older? We're getting more advanced in technology, but the quality of life is going down. So it makes me question, okay, if this life is, everything that it is meant to be, why is it that things are not necessarily advancing?
Yeah.
If technology is advancing, if medicine is advancing, if the world is advancing. So it makes me just think, you know what? I can't trust the world. I can't trust the very things you're telling me are advancing because it's not making people happier, because mental health is on the increase. Let me go back to the one thing that I believe brings peace and joy. Let me go back to the one thing that brings certainty. And I just always say, don't trust in uncertain times, but trust in a certain God. So that's why I'm quite bold.
I love that. Love it.
Thank you.
Love it. You see, this is, I knew I'd enjoy this conversation with you. Yeah. Nah, honestly, it's like you're getting me pumped up.
Thank
still.
you.
And I do agree. It's such an interesting, thing. And I would like to think, I'm a positive person, so I'd like to think that the world can get better. And
it can
hopefully we can improve it by having conversations like this, but also shedding the light to certain things. So I wanted to talk about confidence a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And you being a speaker and you doing it for such a long time, right? Of course, you express yourself in a confident way, right? How are you able to do that? Because you like I said earlier, you've touched the lives of millions of people.
Yeah.
You speak in rooms of hundreds, thousands.
One, I definitely would come say it's God, 110%, because I think that was, my mum literally always goes back to a story of apparently when I was a kid. Mum always tells me this story. Apparently when I was a kid, I was in the supermarket and she was walking around. She thought I was next to her. She hears this young kid on this karaoke thing singing, and she saw lots of people gathering around and they're clapping. And she's going around thinking, oh, who's this young kid? She goes into the crowd and then she realizes this is me. That's on the mic, this young girl, apparently I was 3 years old, singing and performing for all these people in the supermarket. And my mom's just always been somebody that's made it very clear that I'm confident, and she was never going to dim it. She never dimmed my confidence. So I definitely say my confidence came from the environment that I had. My brother, my mum, like I never had like my stepdad, like my friends. I never had an environment that tried to ever try and humble me or play it small. I feel like as I got older, in terms of secondary school maybe, that's when I feel like that's what the environment, that external environment was the thing that tried to dim my confidence. But even when I was in school, when I was in primary school, a lot of teachers always fed into my confidence. They always put me forward for things as well.
That.
So I really do believe that teachers play a big part. So for any teacher that is listening to me, please know that you are feeding into your child's confidence, and confidence starts from a young age. So outside of God and environment, I'll say the third thing that helps a lot with confidence as well is, as I said, I study a lot of figures, and I found that the most consistent thing amongst like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the people who actually made changes, was confidence. Listen, I'm going to say something a bit controversial because, anyways, I'm going to say anyway. People can say what they want about Trump. One thing I got to say about Trump, the guy is confident as heck. You ain't knocking him down. The guy was confident from time that he was even watching The Apprentice in the US. The guy was confident as heck. And I watched actually the documentary about Trump, and it was actually pretty inspiring. There's something that inspired me was a conversation he had when he was 21 in the news, and he came and said that he was going to run for president. And the fact that 50 years later, he actually did it. He was confident enough to follow up on a word that he said he was going to do. Mad. And I thought to myself, wow, 50 years of confidence. 50 years of confidence.
Of being that confident is crazy.
Being that confident for 50 years. Like, you're confident that you're going to win. And he won. And he won. And listen, I'm not going to talk about the general elections because I don't really know the US like that. I'm a UK girl.
The US like that.
But it's confidence. Like, okay, people might come and say, why are you talking about Trump? Let's talk about Kamala Harris then. As a mixed woman, a biracial woman, for her to feel confident enough as a woman to take the stance that she has taken is amazing. Like, if you want to make change, you have to be confident enough to be like, even if nobody else is going to do it, if not me, then who? And that's where confidence is. Like, if I don't step up, then I don't know if things are going to change. And I think with a lot of people, they're looking for the next man to step up. But confidence is you come to be like, listen, if I don't step up, I don't know if things are going to change. So I think that's where my confidence is also rooted in. I saw a lot of things in my area. People have been shot on my road, raped on my road, molested on my road. My road in my area was mad. Stabbed on my road. Like, we saw so much crime growing up. Literally blocks stinking like weed. Like, I just got to a point where I was just kind of like, does this have to be it? And also when you're like on those like, I remember growing up when in secondary school, and you'd go, you know, those school trips, and there'll be like other schools. Then you'll see like the way other kids speak, and you'll talk about like they're saying certain things. Then, like, you know, if you're like, when you're like in year 10 or year 9 and you're going on those mixed school trips, and you've got one school here, and you're just hearing how they speak, and you're like, rah, where I grew up ain't normal.
Yeah.
It's not normal. It's not normal. That's when you realize it's not normal. But until we accept it's not normal, that's the only way it's going to change. So I just got confident enough, and I was like, nah, man, I'm not going to die here. Like, I can't lie, I'm not going to die in ends. That's where the confidence came. The confidence came and said, this can't be this can't be the end of my story. Like, I listened to all them stories from Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, all these stories where they come say, yeah, I started here. And I thought to myself, yeah, me too. Why not? Like, let me be confident enough that I can change my story. If they could change their story, why not me? Yeah. So, yeah.
Mad. And what do you think are like some of like the, I guess, the positive and negatives of being confident?
Sometimes when you're too confident, your tunnel vision, and you sometimes are inconsiderate of other people and their own circumstances and their own fears and their own struggles. I always say I'm a very black and white person. I'm a very clear person. I always say, listen, if Hayley don't like you, you're gonna know. If Hayley likes you, you're gonna know. You will never not know where you stand with me. That's just how I am. And being confident sometimes is you are so clear in what you want to do. You're very clear in terms of what you want to contribute, that when somebody might come with a different perspective, you might come be like, well, this is what I want to do. And sometimes you can shun out a different perspective that could actually save you a lot of money, save you a lot of time. So sometimes being too confident can actually cost you a lot of money and a lot of time, because it's definitely cost me. And as I said, you can be inconsiderate on other people's experiences and inconsiderate on other people's journey on where they are with confidence, because sometimes you might be very convinced like, oh, this is how it goes and this is how it should be. But no, everyone's blueprint is different. So that's something that I'm even constantly learning till this day. But I think the obviously the pros of it is that, listen, confidence is what changes the world. Confidence is what changes policies. Confidence is what, listen, if you think about, we're currently, you know, in an area where Diane Abbott has made tremendous change in this area. If Diane Abbott was not brave enough to stand up as the first female black MP to be confident to make change, Diane Abbott is probably one of the only few MPs, if you actually look at the change she made in her borough, she's actually probably the only one that actually fell through. Because when you think about the borough of Hackney and how dangerous Hackney was, back in the day, I remember growing up, Hackney, I always heard mad things. Like nobody was ever going to Hackney. To now see how gentrified Hackney is, that would not be possible if it wasn't for Diane Abbott. You have to give the one flowers where no matter how you feel about Labour Party or however you feel about Diane Abbott, the woman changed this area. So I just think to myself, like, Diane Abbott is so... She's one of the people that I look to and I'm like, confidence really does change things. Someone is confident. Listen, Jeremy Corbyn, confident. Boris Johnson, confident. All these people are confident enough to be like, listen, let me just do it. We don't have to agree with the people who are confident, by the way. You don't have to like everyone that's confident. I don't like everyone who's confident. But I mean, what I mean by that is not necessarily their confidence in terms of you might see a confident leader. I may not like them, but I'm going to respect it because, you're confident enough to be, you know, to say something. You could be some people are what do you call it, wrong and loud, or loud and wrong, but listen, at least they're loud about it. Because for me, I always come and say, I trust somebody who is like loud and they're an idiot than somebody who's like a secret idiot, because it's like I didn't see it coming. Secret idiot. Yeah, I hear it. So like with confidence, that's what's really gonna make you stand out. And also, just in terms of a statistic front, when you're thinking about in terms of careers and, you know, promotions, you're more likely to be promoted if you are confident and you are not necessarily outspoken, but if you are somebody who articulates your points well. Public speaking is actually one of the best skills that you can ever implement in your career. Like, it's literally one of the top skills you can ever implement, because people trust someone who communicates well. Yeah. When you think about it, Obama did not get... I generally don't think that a lot of people get voted into because of their competence. I think it's because of your ability to convey and your ability to communicate. Yeah. Like Rishi, one of the reasons I generally think that Rishi ended up being voted to a conservative leadership is because the way that man was vocal during COVID... We all knew who Rishi Sunak was during COVID, because the way he pushed for that eat out to help out and the economy and how even me, I was here thinking, who's this Rishi guy? Me, I like him. I didn't care about his background, but he was confident enough to be the face of, this is the campaign and this is what it is. So I find that confidence is what will make people know you, and when they know you, they can like you and support you. So yeah. Yeah. On the flip side, though. What comes with confidence sometimes is that imposter syndrome. Oh, yeah, for sure. Nervousness. And I'm sure, you know, you being a speaker, you do it all the time, right? I mean, me, do I have imposter syndrome come in the podcast? I think sometimes I think it's a human trait. I think everyone gets it. Yeah. Everyone gets it. How do you overcome that? Or how does somebody overcome? For me, from a faith perspective, prayer, 110%. Prayer is just being able to believe that it's not about me. God, if you put me in the room, you give me the tools, you give me the wisdom to navigate the room, and you trust me in the room. That's literally the prayer that I have. God, because I'm in this room, you trust me in the room. So I thank God. As I said, getting over myself is not about me. It's bigger than what it is. And I'll say number 2 is being able to understand I'm human. It's a human feeling. Feel it. Don't dismiss it. Feel the emotion. Sit with the emotion. Why do you feel imposter syndrome? Where does this come from? Is it something that your inner child needs to deal with? Because we always forget as adults, we have an inner child. And we need to tend to that. So is it something maybe you might be scared to do something, and it might be something that your mum might have said years ago to your inner child that you realise you haven't healed through. So these are the type of things you need to now start to bring to the surface and start healing through them, because there's going to come another circumstance where it'll come to the surface and it's going to be bigger. So I'd rather deal with it, sit with the emotion, see what is it that's triggering it, and then I'll be able to overcome it. So yeah. Yeah, love that. I love that. I really, really, really love those tips. So, okay, so we want to help people become more confident, because a lot of people do live within themselves. That's the truth, right? So what are the steps that someone can take today to, you know, feel more confident or be more confident and be more bold? As I said, I'm I'm a believer of life and a speaker of life. If you can't speak life over yourself, don't expect anybody else to. So I'll definitely say, speak life over yourself. Speak life of yourself. There was this experiment of 2 plants. One was labeled death, one was labeled life, and there was a set of kids that were assigned to speak life over the plant that was labeled life, and there was the same group of kids were also assigned to speak death over the plant. And so it was like the one that was labeled death, plant, you're never going to succeed, plant, you're never going to make anything. The one that was speaking life, plant, you're amazing, plant, you're going to blossom, plant, you're amazing. Same sun, same lighting, same conditions. The plant that they spoke death over died first before the plant that they spoke life over. I really do believe that life and death is in the power of the tongue. And if you want to be able to become more confident, you have to affirm yourself. So I believe that the most powerful words are anything you say after I am. So what is being said after I am? And something my husband always says as well is, does your mouth align with God's promises for you? So it's really making sure that, for me, as I said, from a faith perspective, is getting into the word of God, what promises are said over me, where it says I'm more than a conqueror, that I'm wonderfully and fearfully made, that, you know, I'm the head and not the tail. Those are the type of things that I say, that I shall stand before kings and not mere men. Those are the type of affirmations I have that made me feel confident, because it became consistent in what I was saying. And there comes a time, there's something that Inky Johnson says, which I love, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't think I can say it, you know, as powerfully as him, but he says, in a time of adversity, you don't revert to your aspirations, you revert to your habits. And when things do get hard, if you created a habit of affirming yourself, even when things are hard, you're going to affirm yourself, because it's become a habit now. So I would say definitely affirmation. I'll say number 2 in terms of confidence, be around confident people. If you want to learn Spanish, go to Spain. So if you want to be confident, get around confident people. Get around people who are not going to make you feel like you're dumb for being confident. If I'm being honest, this might be a thing where people might fight me, they might tussle me. Don't tussle me, child. I had to let go of insecure people.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, man. Where I'm going, I ain't got time to entertain insecurity. Insecurity always leads to jealousy. It ain't gonna be me. I love you, and as I said, some people you got to love from a distance. There comes a time where you have to understand that when you're called to a certain level of altitude in life, there's some people who are literally baggage. And if you keep them going, you're either going to crash at the top or your plane will never take off. So I just felt like it got to a point in my life where I was starting to hear certain conversations, and I was realizing this conversation does not align with what I say about myself, with what God says over me, and the type of conversations I want to entertain. And I remember when I started therapy, and I had this conversation with my therapist, and I had this conversation with myself. I imagined, who would Hayley be in 10 years' time? Now imagine this woman. Who is she? What is she carrying? What's she wearing? What does she smell like? All this type of stuff. Okay, now what's she doing? How much money is she making? Now, who is around that Hayley? What type of people are around that Hayley? Now think to the Hayley who is now, today. The same people you're thinking about in 10 years' time, a healed version of yourself, are they the same people today? Who are those people? Who doesn't align? The people who don't align, cut them out now. Because if they're not going to be there in 10 years' time, why are you entertaining them now?
Interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was something that I had to do.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow, that must have been tough though.
Yeah.
Very tough.
I think, you know when they come and say it's lonely at the top? I don't believe it's only at the top. Because I believe that tribe exists. I've got amazing friends. Do I have many friends? No. I have amazing community. I have a big community. But in terms of my inner circle is very tight. But I definitely would come and say that as you evolve, you do have to start having very hard conversations with yourself and asking yourself whether you are close to somebody because of loyalty or you're close to them because of development. Like, can I grow with you? Can I actually trust as I evolve that you are going to be able to adapt with the places that I'm going to and where God's calling me to? And, you know, especially in the times where, you know, you grow up in, as I said, there's trauma bonding as well. Are we friends because of trauma? Are we friends because we grew up in ends together? Are we friends because we didn't grow up with dads? Like, why are we friends? You have to start having those hard conversations when you're older. Like, why are we friends? Are we friends because we club together? When I stopped drinking alcohol, I realised there was a lot of people that I stopped talking to. Because I realised that some of our conversations were about, oh my gosh, let's go out to eat, or let's go get lit, and let's catch up over us being lit. So I realised I can't speak to you when I'm sober. So if I can't speak to you when I'm sober, why are we friends? So it's that's, as I said, like when you start adapting and changing your lifestyle, now where I'm a married woman, my conversations are different. Like I can't lie, I can't be talking to you about your sneaky link. I'm a married woman. Why are we chatting about it? Let's talk about something else. So it's not that I feel any better than anybody who has a sneaky link, by the way, before anyone comes to say, oh, married women, they change up. No, it's just that the conversations are different because I'm just not there anymore. I didn't even have sneaky links back in the day anyway, but still, I'm just not there. So it's one of those things where it's like, I just realised there's just certain conversations I could no longer have, which means there was some people that I could no longer be around. So yeah.
Okay. I love that. So those are the ways that somebody can take to, and these are accessible to people, right? These days, right? We have social media, we have events, we have communities.
Yeah, and stop being prideful. Be free. Like, there's people I've slid into their DMs and saying, I'm shooting my shot, I want to be your friend.
Have you?
Yes.
Oh, damn. That's interesting.
Yeah. If I feel like you're killing it, and I literally feel like me and you would get on, I watch your personality, I watch how people speak about you, I'll shoot my shot. I am not afraid to shoot my shot.
Oh, wow.
I'll never sit on
I'll
never be a no high horse or anything back in the day. Or like, yeah, man, back in the day, like, obviously I'm flirting on you with my husband, but yeah, I'll just slide into somebody else and be like, hey, I really like what you're doing. Let's go out for lunch. I'd love to treat you. Something like that. And some of my friends has literally been of pursuit. Like, somebody I can easily come talk about is my friend Nissy. Nissy's one of my closest friends. Nissy, I was her bridesmaid. She was my bridesmaid. How did me and Nissy become friends? Shots. We shot each other shot, actually. I slid into her DMs and was like, oh my gosh, you're so inspiring. I love you. And she was kind of like, oh my gosh, you're so inspiring. I love you. I was like, oh my gosh, we love each other. Let's just be friends. That's actually how me and Nissy became friends. And we're very close friends.
Okay.
And both our husbands are very close friends as well.
Wow.
So now it's like generational. Nissy is literally about to give birth. Literally, and it's like we're just all one big family. And it came off literally us just being like, I like what you're doing, you like what I'm doing, let's be friends. And there's other friendships I have. Like, I got another friend who was one of my bridesmaids as well, Jan, slid into her DMs. I was like, I really want to be your friend. I like what you're doing. I love what you're doing for Uganda. I want to be more in touch with my Ugandan roots. Let's build a friendship. And now we're sisters. She's killing it as a doctor, and I'm killing it as a speaker. And it came off me literally standing into her DMs and being like, I want to be your friend.
You are super confident. You ain't just saying it. Like,
yeah.
All right. Oh, I love that. I love those tips. Obviously, linked to that is action, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people, and let me not say a lot, I will say all of us struggle with some form of procrastination.
Yeah,
I don't think we
course.
can all be 100% on it all the time, right? So for those that are struggling with procrastination and they're not taking those steps to achieve their goals, what would your message be to those people?
Being broke hurts, man. I'll be real.
That was a one-liner. I love it.
Being broke hurts. Like, there's been times I've been so broke that fasting wasn't an option. I just had to fast because I couldn't afford food. Someone would be like, you're hungry? I'll be like, no, I'm fasting. I wasn't really fasting, I was broke. Like, I couldn't afford food. And it hurts. Like, okay, coming from a faith perspective, a lot of Christians spend a lot of their time praying to God for money. And I'll be honest, when I became financially free, I could actually really pray again. I could really pray. And I could really pray about the needs of my heart, needs of my soul. When someone asks me for prayer, I'm praying, like, actually honestly before God, because I'm not, financially, obscure and stuff. And the reason why I have to talk about that in terms of procrastination is because a lot of the time when we procrastinate is because we are not focused on the prize. We're focusing too much on the price. What's it going to cost me? I don't want to pay that cost. But if you want the prize, there has to be a price for it. And I think a lot of the times, as I said, we're in this society that focuses so much on harvest. They don't focus enough on seed. They don't focus enough on what it's going to cost you. And I think growing up, especially from an African background, I saw how much my mum, sacrificed. I'm so happy I saw that growing up. Like, the cost, making sure the cost is in your face and just getting over the cost. You have to just get over yourself. It's going to cost you something. Do it. And I just think that if you don't do it now, it's going to cost you more later. There's a podcast that I've watched with Stephen Bartlett and this guest, and he came and said something like, if you don't be a slave for health, you'll end up being a slave for sickness. If you don't end up being a slave for discipline, you'll end up being a slave, or something like, if you don't be a slave for discipline, you can end up being a slave for sickness. If you don't end up being a slave for discipline, you can end up being a slave for like poverty, something like that. Wow. And I was like, wow, okay, different perspective. So procrastination, as I said, if you don't end up being a slave for this, you're going to end up being a slave for that, and it's going to cost you even more. And I'd rather just pay the price now and then enjoy later. So yes, you know, procrastination, it's going to cost you more later. It's like a compound interest. So yeah, I'll just come and say, you know, focus on, you know, that cost now, because there's going to come a time that your younger self your older self, will thank you for it. And I thank myself for making a lot of decisions I did when I was younger, because I feel like me now in my late 20s, I'm thanking myself for the way I worked in my early 20s. Like, I remember my friends would be like, Hayley, can we go here? Like, my friends were taking holidays, stuff like that. I was out crafting. I was literally going. I remember there was a time when in the space of 6 weeks, I spoke across like 28 universities.
Wow.
In 2016.
Wow.
In 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going up and down from York to East Anglia to Essex to Kent, to across London, the universities in London. I was traveling. Leeds University, like, I've spoken in a lot of universities, but because I was so passionate about getting my name out there, and I'll never forget around the times I used to cry to my brother, and I used to be like, Marvin, like, they don't want to pay me, nobody wants to pay me. Then my brother literally said to me, Hels, the way you're working, is going to come a time that somebody's going to be upset that they didn't pay you at the price that you once were, because at the time they're going to say you're too expensive, but then you're going to up your price and they're going to wish they paid it, because now you're going to be way too expensive. And that's exactly what's happening now. But because I paid that price when I was like 19, when I had the energy. It's also when you get older, you don't have the energy as much.
You lose that energy bit by bit, year by year, right?
I ain't doing 28 unis now. I ain't got the time. I ain't got the energy.
Yeah, oh my, and the motivation's way more as well.
Exactly.
Like, you just want to just like,
you're hungry.
Yeah, that's mad. So obviously you previously told us that you overcame some challenges, right?
Yeah.
How did you, I guess, switch your mindset from that negative? Let me not even assume that, right? Let me talk about specifically the negative situation that you were in, right? How did you switch that from negative to positive?
Environment, honestly. If you want to learn Spanish, go to Spain. Being around positive people really changed my life. Okay. Started being around a lot of positive people. And being around a lot of positive people, it helps you just change perspective. There was I really do believe in the power of impartation. Coming from a Pentecostal background, some people who hate it, laying hands, they may not think it's true or whatever. Listen, I believe in the power of words. I believe that the truest impartation actually comes through words. If I'm from a biblical point of view, the first way that God imparted to us was actually through words, not actually through hand. And what I mean by that is in Genesis 1, God said, let them be fruitful and multiply. So he blessed us with words, but we were actually formed in Genesis 2, which means that he blessed us with words before we were even formed in our physical being. So that just proves how spiritual and how important words are. Be around people who speak into your destiny and not your limitations. That was something that helped me stay so positive. That environment, as I said, the information you take in, whoever has access to your mind, your ear has access to your mind, and prayer as well, man, and just being in the Word just helped me, and like trusting God more, and trust, as I said, in a certain God rather than on uncertain times. So yeah.
Ambition.
Yeah.
Right? Ambition. Some people might see somebody as ambitious, as arrogant. There's good and bad that comes with it, right? We've talked about confidence, right? You mentioned Trump, and again, I'm mentioning Trump. Look, people, don't come for me, but like, this is a conversation we're having.
Yeah. But
some people may say, oh, well, you're arrogant. How dare you say that you want to become president? Yeah. Who are you? You're 20-something, right? Yeah. So therefore, sometimes, because people don't want to feel arrogant, they're like, you know what? I'm just going to live within myself. I'm going to set easy goals. I'm not going to stretch myself. Why is it important to set ambitious goals? What can that do for you and your mindset?
Okay, I'm going to come back to the Bible. You guys know I'm a Bible girl. I'm going to come back to the Bible. The parable of the talents talks about those 3 different people who were given talents. One with 1, one with 2, one was 5. The one with 2 and 5 doubled it. God came and said, my good and my faithful servant. But the one that with 1, he buried it. And God came and said, you wicked and you lazy person, I'm going to cast you out to the place with the gnashing of teeth. Which makes me understand that you playing it small and you not being ambitious is actually a sin.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
actually, God didn't cast him out because he did anything wrong. God casted him out because he didn't return on the investment that God put inside of him. That God actually gave him a talent. God gave him a gift. And God expected something more from that. So there's gifts that God has given us. Another Bible story that I think about is there was a woman, a widow, who went to the prophet and she came and said, I don't have anything but oil. And the prophet came and said, okay, go to your neighbors, go and get the jug, put that oil in and sell it. So sometimes we will undermine what we have. And that also taught me the power of collaboration, because that woman wouldn't have been able to sell what she had, because I believe oil means anointing. Oil means your gift. I don't believe that she was going to be able to sell what she had if she didn't partner with her community and partner with the people that God has blessed her with. You do need destiny helpers. So your ambition can never be accomplished without destiny helpers. You can never be somebody that feels I'm going to do it all alone. You need people around you. You need the right people. That's why it's important. Treat people well, because you're going to need them. So with ambition, I think the reason why it's important as well, because you liberate a generation. Like, if you want to change something in your life, you want to change something in your generation, you want to change something in your community, you got to be bold enough and ambitious enough to believe that you can do it. And I really believe that with everyone that made a change, it all started with ambition. It all started with somebody just being ambitious enough to be like, you know what I see is not good enough. I want to see bigger. And I remember hearing about this story about, I think the man who created Disneyland. I heard about it. I don't know if it's true or not, but I like the story, so I'm going to run with it. About this man who created Disneyland, Disney World. Apparently he died before it, he died before the first one came out. Then I think someone was crying and they were like, I wish you was here to see it. And then the person turned back and said to them, no, he already saw it 20 years ago. It's just you that you're seeing it now. I was like, that's very powerful. Like, ambition allows you to have insight over sight, allows you to see something before they see it. So I say this with all humility. My career, I saw that when I was 18. I saw my career 10 years ago. Yeah. Well, 26 now, but 8 years ago. I saw my career 8 years ago. Because I sat for a long time meditating and imagining, what can my career look like? What does it look like to be an international speaker? I had vision boards where I was writing down companies I was speaking to. I wrote down checks to myself, £10,000, stuff like that. All this stuff that I'd be here, I'll be speaking here, I'll be meeting this person, that I'll be meeting people like Melinda Gates, I meet that, and all the things that I wrote down when I was 18, 8 years later, I've done at least 90% of them.
Wow. And it shows you the power of, again, because if you have that ambitious goal, you work towards it, but if you settle. Exactly.
Power of ambition and vision. It drives you, it gives you, you will never, imagine you getting in an Uber and you never put the destination and somebody else is driving you to their destination. Is that not scary?
That's mad.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Because you don't know where the hell you're going to end up.
Exactly.
At least with Uber, we know something, that the Uber cannot get booked until you put a destination in. That's how you need to look at ambition and vision. There has to be a destination somewhere. And it's either going to be yours or it's going to be somebody else's. I'd rather choose mine. Because my Uber driver got somewhere to be, I got somewhere to be. But right now, you got to do you got to go where I want you to go. Yeah. So that's the same with ambition and vision. It drives you where you need to go.
Yeah. I love that. I love the way you say that, especially the Uber analogy. It's true. Is it yours or is it somebody else's?
Yeah.
And when you're playing small, it's not yours, is it?
At all.
Really, it's not really what you want to do. You're just kind of scared because people tell you, "Oh no, you're not good enough."
People care too much what people think in our society. So.
Exactly. It's crazy. Okay, so. Building wealth as a Christian, right?
Yes,
so
I love
when
it.
we spoke offline, right?
Yes.
And I know you're very passionate about this, right? So one of the things you mentioned to me was that it's okay to want to build wealth and make money as a Christian.
Yes.
And that money isn't evil. Talk to me more about that.
The money taught me how to make multiple six figures. The Bible literally taught me the blueprint of how to make money.
How?
Well, there was a time when I was reading the book of Proverbs and I learned so much about money, because money has nothing to do with your skill set. Actually, it has everything to do with your skill set, but it has everything to do with your principle, your mindset, your attitude, your environment. And I feel like the book of Proverbs taught me that. You know, if you have 5 foolish friends, you are the 6th fool. You're going to be a 6th fool. And that's what I mean in terms of your environment will impact everything. So one of the things that I learned about money is, okay, I wanted to start having more 6 figures. I wanted to hit 6 figures. So I started hanging around more 6-figure people. The way they think, the way they do things, they'll start saying things in passing. Oh yeah, let me catch this receipt because I'm my accountant. Like, I'm not going to lie, if you're with a 4-figure person, they ain't catching receipt, they ain't looking for a receipt like that. Like, you start hearing certain things. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So this is how you do things. You'll be like, okay, yeah, let me just speak to my PA. My PA's got even how they voice note their PA. Can you make sure this is in the calendar? So I started learning things about organization. Started learning certain things about scheduling. I started learning particular things that I would have missed with my 4-figure or 5-figure friends or my 4-figure or 5-figure network. Then when I started hanging around millionaires, a complete different ballgame. When I started hanging around billionaires, complete different ballgame. I've got like 1 billionaire that I know. And when I started having conversations with them, they taught me something that my millionaire friends couldn't teach me. And these are all Christians, by the way. That's a crazy thing. And I find that with a lot of people, when it comes to when it comes to Christianity, we focus so much on the fact that, you know, Christianity is a religion, that they forget that God asked, God actually taught us. Jesus actually came to teach us how a kingdom should be built, not a religion. Jesus never actually came in the New Testament and said, these are the principles of the religion. He came and said, these are the principles of a kingdom. When you think about a kingdom has to have riches, a kingdom has to have wealth, a kingdom has to have a king. United Kingdom, we have a monarchy. Look at how much a monarchy is making. Monarchy making a lot of money, right? Buckingham Palace, look at how big the monarchy is. The kingdom is really all about the monarchy. So when you think about the fact that we live in a kingdom, the United Kingdom, and it is about, you know, principles, and it is about a king, and it is about the kingdom, it made me look at Christianity differently. And I think one of the biggest lies we have been taught, and don't come for me, I know my Bible, is the fact that all Christianity is a religion. It's not. It's so much more than that. If anything, I really do believe that God wants us. As I said, my prayer life shifted when I became financially free. I could actually pray. I don't think there's many Christians that can come and say that.
Mad.
I could actually pray.
Yeah.
And that lifted something off of me that, it was just crazy. And also there's a scripture that says that if you have the means to give it, give it. Like, there comes a time when you can, if somebody says, I'm going through something, and you say, pray about it, or you can pay. It's either pray or pay. And I realized that I can do both, pray and pay. I had a situation where one of somebody who I love dearly, they were tight in a particular area and they had a health issue, and they needed to go private, and me and my husband were able to step in and just be like, go private, go do what you need to do in the hospital. And we prayed, but we could also pay. Like, that was now being practical, that it's like, okay, could we pray about it? But then if you wait longer, it could be bigger issues. So I find that with a lot of Christians, they sometimes use, I might be fought for this, but I do sometimes believe that sometimes Christians can use faith as a crutch for laziness.
I'm going to say no comment because I have my thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, but it's true. I do believe that they can use a crutch for laziness, and they do everything with faith, but faith without works is dead. The parable of the talents come and say, you buried your gift, and I'm sure you might have buried your gift spending all that time in church, praying, fasting, but the gift wasn't used. You did not come back to God with something more than what he gave you. And I find that with a lot of the times, as I said, I genuinely believe that, yes, the fruits of the Spirit are important. The fruits of, love, kindness, long-suffering, self-control, very important. But I'll be very honest that there is something interesting when you see somebody of wealth and they talk about the Bible you're more likely to listen to them because it's like, something's working for you. And how beautiful is it that something's working for them and they can go back to the word of God. And I find that with a lot of Christians, they can sometimes make a lot of excuses for their laziness, a lot of excuses for their low procrastination, a lot of excuses for their ignorance. The Bible literally comes to say that my people perish because of ignorance.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and another thing as well that a lot of people suffer with as well is that entitlement. They want everything for free. They don't want to pay for nothing. They don't want to pay for no course. They don't want to pay for no wisdom. They don't want to pay for no mentor. They don't want to pay for no coach. Like, even for me in my speaking career, I'm being mentored by Eric Thomas, Jeremy Anderson, Inky Johnson, right? I'm under this program in America where I'm being literally mentored by the top speakers in the world. Eric Thomas, I'm bringing Eric Thomas to London in October the 5th. Make sure you're there. Eric Thomas gets paid $300K per talk.
Wow.
If he does a talk cheaper, it's by choice. He gets paid $300K per talk. Me paying to learn from someone like him, can't lie, I'm going to pay. And just me learning from him, my life has changed. And this is what I mean by wisdom. Wisdom is you're willing to pay so that you don't have to do the same mistakes that they made. Because I believe you can either learn through mentorship or mistakes. I'd rather learn from mentorship than mistakes because it's going to cost me 100%. Not just my money or my time. It's going to cost me emotions too. Mistakes hurt.
Yeah.
And sometimes people that are trapped by mistakes, literally. So I think with a lot of Christians, they need to get over themselves. They need to forgive themselves. They need to get around wealthy people. Let go of the pride. Don't make you feel like, oh, I'm better than this and that. Humble yourself enough. When I was, how old was I? 21, 20. When I started being mentored by a speaker, he was getting paid 20K per talk, like minimum 20K per talk. I was like, I want to learn from you, boy. I literally said, how can I work? How can I work for you? I was like, I'll clean your office if I need to. Just so that I could be the fly on the wall. When you think about it in terms of Bible, Joseph, Daniel, proximity to the king, like, of course they were going to prosper in wealth. They had proximity to the king. All these people, Queen Esther, proximity to the king. All these people ended up thriving because of proximity. So for you to be prideful enough to be like, I don't need to learn from them. I don't need to. No, you are missing out on a big blessing. And I found that being close, and I'm not just close to them because of money. I'm very big on character too. Like, I don't really care about money, if I'm being honest. I actually care a lot about character and integrity. But being close to somebody that has, as I said, fruits of the spirit in terms of love, kindness, and all of those characters, but then also somebody that has fruit in terms of their business and they're also making moves, I do want to be close to you and I do want to spend time with you. And I found that me being around those type of people actually changed my life. So yeah.
Wow. And this is the thing, right? I think, and you very clearly said it, right? It's like, what do people want? Do they want to be poor and then pray to be wealthy?
So good. Do they want to be poor
right?
and pray?
It's like, what do you want, right? It's like...
Listen, I really do believe that we're in a time where God wants to move and there's revival breaking out. Like every single country I've been to, I've been within the past year, I've been on over 30 planes within the past year. I've traveled a lot within the past year, especially last year when I was in America for 6 weeks. I went to like so many different states. And this year, just traveling to Dubai, Mexico, America, different places, I've seen that God is doing amazing things. There is truly a revival breaking out. But revival costs, like church costs. All these meetings that you're going to do. I have a ministry, right? And even my all-night prayer that I did the other day, my all-night prayer costs like, I don't even want to say figures, but it costs us money. It costs us thousands to rent the hall, to get the band together. Like, yes, you're facilitating it and it was free. Like, it was free. Come and pray. It's still going to cost us though. And we living in a time where people just want to get everything for free. People don't want to pay. People don't want to sow. Yeah. And I find that with a lot of people, especially a lot of Christians, they're not willing to sow for the revival that they're so praying for. Like, you're praying that God moves. It's going to cost you though. If you're praying that God come and fill up the stadiums, who's going to pay for that stadium though? Who's going to pay for that invoice?
That's the thing. Someone's got to pay.
Exactly. And I would rather be the person that pays. Listen, I'll tell you guys a secret, and I'm telling you, this is the prayer that changed my life. I said, literally, God, bless me so I could bless others. I literally said, God, bless me so I could be a kingdom financier. Like, bless me so that my finances can contribute to the moving forward of the gospel and the move forward of the kingdom. And when I actually understood it's my personal responsibility to contribute to revival financially, that was when I started moving differently with my finances. That's when I started having more wisdom. I wanted to make more money, not because of the fact that I wanted to be rich, but because I actually understood there was a need for the gospel to be moved. Listen, Donald Trump, the reason why Donald Trump was able to do particular things with his campaign is because the guy is rich. Kamala Harris was able to raise up 81 million within 24 hours, and that was able to allow her to get into certain rooms. Even those in politics understand you need money for your campaign. So why is it that we don't believe the same thing for revival? Jesus is being campaigned right now, and we want to be, we're just going to pray about it. No, it's going to cost us. If all these political leaders understand that their campaigns need to be paid for, we need to understand as Christians that revival needs to be paid for. 100%. And I find that with a lot of people, they are not understanding you have a personal responsibility to contribute to that. But that comes with you having an honest conversation with yourself and being like, God, I want to be wealthy so I could contribute to your kingdom moving forward. It's not a bad thing. If anything, I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think if you are having an honest conversation with yourself where you'll come and say, God, I'm playing it less than what you've given me, and even repenting of it and being like, God, I don't want to play it small, because there's no one that benefits from me playing it small. There's nobody that benefits from me earning small. Literally, not going to lie. Broke people can't get other people out of poverty. Sorry. Like, a broke person cannot help somebody out of poverty. It's literally those that have money that help people out of poverty. And I just thought to myself, like, if I want to actually really help people out of poverty, I can't be one of them. Yeah. So, yeah.
I hear that. It's important. So, obviously, this is another one, right?
Yeah.
Success and obviously, serving God.
Yeah.
So, from your point of view, how can one pursue success but also make sure they're still serving God?
I will always come and say that success isn't about being successful. Success is about being obedient. What has God called you to do, and are you partnering with it? I think with a lot of people, they forget Romans 12 comes to say, lay down your life as a living sacrifice, which means whatever God says, you do. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Saul had the kingdom ripped away from him because he was disobedient. David actually did worse than Saul when you think about it. David cheated. He slept with his best friend's wife, then got her pregnant, then killed his best friend. But God still came to say, David is a man after my own heart. But Saul, he didn't wait for Samuel. He just came and said, let me do my own thing. And then Samuel was like, yeah, your kingdom's been ripped away from you. Whoa, if you weigh that up, what David did was way worse than Saul. But something that I've understood is that God really honors obedience. Saul had an instruction and he didn't obey. That cost him his kingdom. And I find with a lot of people, the reason why they're not successful is because they are honoring their desires above what God desires for them. And I've honestly found that surrender is literally the best way for you to be successful while still serving God. Surrender to what has God called you to do. And I'll end it here with this last scripture, where the Bible talks about how Jesus told Peter to cast his net onto the right side. Peter comes to say, but I'd been fishing all night. The Bible literally also says that he was even washing his nets, which also means, in terms of fishermen terms, when you're washing your nets, it means you're done, you're finished, you're done out. He said that he'd been fishing all night. He's washing his nets now. That means he's ready to go out. But Jesus came to say, cast your net onto the right side. Peter responded back saying, I've been fishing all night, but at the obedience of your word, at the command of your word, I'll do it. And him being obedient, the Bible talks about how he ended up getting so much fish that he had to call on other people, that the boats began to sink because of the amount of fish that he was able to catch. And that came off the back of obedience. I always say, on the other side of obedience is your breakthrough. The thing that you're praying to God for is on the other side of your obedience. A lot of the time, things are not working because you're being disobedient. If you are just obedient to what God is saying, I'm very big on the fact that God speaks and you have to learn to hear the voice of God. What is God telling you to do? And how can you partner with a bigger vision? And I find a lot of people, I think some of the greatest enemy sometimes in the church right now is the purpose talk. What's my purpose? Your purpose is to be obedient. Honestly. Okay. What's your purpose, to be obedient? Because it's like, my purpose. You've made it about you. God has an agenda and you are part of that agenda. everybody has their part to play. And there's something that my pastor says, which I love, which says, rather than you asking God to bless your business, ask God what his business is and ask him, and rather than asking God to bless your business, ask God what his business is and how you can be a blessing to him. And that can be the difference. Because a lot of time we're like, bless me. No. What is God breathing on and how can you partner with it? And trust me, you'll be successful there.
Love it. This has been a great conversation,
Thank
Hayley.
you.
Respect your time. So I'm gonna end it there.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? Obviously, if they want to connect with you, reach out to you and stuff like that.
Everywhere I'm at Hayley Mulenda everywhere. So that's HayleyMulenda. I'll say it in terms of when I say it on the phone. Hayley. Then I'll say Mike Uniform Lima Echo November Delta Alpha. But yeah, my name's Hayley Mulenda Record. You can literally catch me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm big on LinkedIn. I love my LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. That's like my favorite app. And yeah, feel free to follow me, connect with me. I hope the episode's blessed you. So yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna even hope. I know it would. It's been epic, and it's been a different conversation. It's not one that we've really had, and that's why I really was excited about having this conversation. You. Around Christianity, around confidence, around wealth, because I think all of these things are linked.
All of them are linked,
right?
All of them.
So it's great. This is where I think we were quite aligned, and I was like, yeah, you know what? And honestly, it's exceeded expectations.
Oh, amazing.
And I think I really, really appreciate the fact that you shared your story. I think sharing a story, especially a painful one, is not easy at all. And you're sharing how people can get better, and you can see that enthusiasm that you're really out here, wanting to help people. So it's super important. Do you have any final words for the watchers and listeners?
Try God if you haven't. Best decision I ever made. 8 years ago, 29th of July 2016, I tried God and I haven't looked back. Because we live in uncertain times. The only thing that is certain is God. So don't trust in uncertain times, but trust in a certain God. Jesus loves you.
Thank you so much, Hayley. Great speaking to you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast, and see you next week's episode.